With the shooting of Jacob Blake, racial tensions crackle like wildfire. Back at home, Chief Craig tells protesters there will be no Seattle in Detroit. Chief James Craig is here. So is columnist Eugene Robinson, and he's bringing optimism. And meet Rona, a new campaign asking young people to get their pandemic act together. Today is Sunday, August 30th, 2020, and this is Flashpoint.
Hi, welcome to Flashpoint. August comes to a close after a week that blew in like a hurricane and actually included a massive hurricane. Hurricane Laura is gone, but leaves behind so much damage and also leaves us an unkind reminder that we're really just getting started with hurricane season, one that threatened to have two hurricanes churning around each other at the same time. We also moved from convention season now into campaign season. As I've said before, I'm not convinced there are that many undecided voters out there. It's really about the turnout for an election day that is now just 65 days away. That election will also remain fueled by the protests that were injected with even more anger and more energy with this week with the shooting of Jacob Blake. Last weekend saw the tensest moments we've seen in Detroit in some time as police moved in to scatter protesters trying to shut down Woodward Avenue downtown. Coming up, I'm going to talk with Police Chief James Craig about his firm comments on what he will and won't tolerate in Detroit. Also, part of my conversation with Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist Eugene Robinson. After writing about race in America for decades, you'll find he is surprisingly optimistic right now. And a new push to get young adults to start being smarter when it comes to COVID-19. It is a packed morning today on Flashpoint. All right, last weekend in downtown Detroit, we saw one of the more dramatic collisions between Detroit police and the Detroit Will Breathe protesters. And in the aftermath, Detroit Police Chief James Craig said Detroiters are fed up with the group and their demands. And after breaking up the effort to shut down Woodward Avenue, Chief Craig went on to say, and rather firmly, Detroit would not be allowed to become Seattle. Very happy to have Chief James Craig back with us again on Flashpoint. Chief, I do want to talk about what happened in Kenosha. Before we get to that, though, you've now had a week to digest what happened last weekend. You've watched the video of your officers making pretty liberal use of their nightsticks, I would say, on the protesters last Saturday night downtown. Sum up for me how you feel it was handled.
Well, Devin, first, let me just thank you for coming on your show this Sunday. And I've had a chance to, digest, as you say, the events that took place. This is week 13, and we've had some great days, mostly peaceful protests. But I got to tell you, there were times that individuals embedded became violent. We know during this protest, individuals were armed with those green lasers that you've heard so much about in other cities.
Yep.
That impacted 3 federal agents. We were very concerned. First of all, as you indicated in your monologue, we weren't going to have a Seattle zone with lawlessness here in Detroit. That was not an option. But that said, we were patient. We talked for about an hour, repeated warnings that you would be arrested. They said, we're not going anywhere. They wanted to be arrested, and they made demands. And the demand was they wanted federal agents to leave the city of Detroit. Again, still showing tremendous patience. And then when we began to effect arrests, there was resistance. You can see some of the videos where some of the protesters are pulling on our officers to free their comrades. And so 44 arrests total throughout this ordeal. We have several investigations that we're looking at to determine whether or not the officers' actions were appropriate. But given the amount of resistance that we saw then, and we've seen throughout the 13 weeks periodically, certainly my hat goes off to the men and women of the Detroit Police Department who have just done a phenomenal job over these past weeks.
The appearance of federal officers has certainly added a new wrinkle for the protesters and a new frustration for them. Has that been a presence, to your way of thinking, that has been helpful for the city, or has the net been one that's been problematic because it's given the protesters something else to be angry about?
Absolutely not problematic, Devin. Let me just say this. It's not about federal agents. It's not about this police department. it is something much deeper than that. Okay, even if the federal agents, what we saw in Portland is a great example. So they pulled the federal agents back and the rioting continued. It continued. So it's not about federal agents. The federal agents are here in Detroit to do one thing and one thing only, to work with this department, which we've worked with federal agents now for 26 years, Devin. 26 years.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's with the sole purpose of reducing violence. It's no secret that there's been an increase of violence, not just here in Detroit, but around the country and most of the major cities. So this is an enhancement to what we already agreed to late December. And so this is the way the narrative is constantly twisted. Even when we engage the protesters when there is violence, they deny there was any violence. They always say that it's the police that incite the violence. When you start pointing lasers at our helicopter, lasers at some of the officers on the ground, that's very serious. Not to mention the fact that I was also told, not at the time that I briefed out on this, that there was indications of projectiles being thrown.
Yeah. I don't know if you feel comfortable sort of summing up what you've seen of the Jacob Blake case, but every time we feel that maybe we're reaching a moment where, I don't want to say that everybody can relax, because that's certainly not going to happen, but a moment of relative calm, it's broken up by yet another example of exactly what these protests are about. Do you feel okay summing up what you've seen in Kenosha, Wisconsin?
Well, a couple of things I saw, and I'm oftentimes, I try not to be critical of another police agency and their handling of this. Certainly, Kenosha has probably not had to handle this, but a couple of things that stood out for me. As you saw how we handled several officer-involved shootings, you must get out in front of it very quickly, because if you don't, there will be another narrative with individuals who have another agenda will put out. We saw it here in Detroit. And so it took days before there was a written statement put out, I believe, by the department. But the chief executive should have got up, stood before a camera, and at least provided the community with some sense of what took place. That didn't happen. And when I look at that situation, you know, Devin, I can't definitively tell you what happened. I can tell you what I saw on the one video. And certainly when you look at the video, it's absolutely troubling. Yeah. But there may be more. There's some conversation surrounding that maybe he was going for a knife. There was conversation that prior to the shooting, that officers used their tasers. And why did they? But we just don't know all the facts.
There's still a lot to get to. Chief, I only got about 30 seconds left, but I want to let you address one more thing. And we just heard a lot of this past at the conventions. You're going to hear a lot more of this in the next 2 months about the mayhem that exists in democratically run cities. Do you want to take a shot at that? How would you answer that criticism?
Well, you know, I've been asked that question, and we don't have an issue here. This police chief and our mayor, we're in lockstep. He's not supportive of the increase in violence. He never has been. And so we're working together very effectively. And that's what you don't see in some of these other cities. I mean, when you have a mayor of another city, unnamed city that is, and say Summer of Love, and then they cause the officers to retreat from their police station, and then there's a violent crime that takes place, 2 murders to be exact, and the police are not allowed to go in, that is not a Summer of Love. That's a disaster.
Not been. Chief, I got to get to a break. I so appreciate your time. Thanks so much for being back with us again on Flashpoint. Look forward to having you back again real soon. We'll take a quick break. Back with more. Eugene Robinson next on Flashpoint.